Hi, this is the day the Lord has made. Let us rejoice and be glad in it. Our devotion for today, August 9th, is from the book of Acts, chapter 15, verses 36 through 41. Verse 36. And after some days, Paul said to Barnabas, "Let us return and visit the brothers in every city where we proclaimed the word of the Lord and see how they are." In our devotion today, the Apostle Paul wants Barnabas to join him in returning to visit all of the churches that they started and to see how they're doing. Verse 37, now Barnabas wanted to take with them John called Mark. Well, who is this John called Mark? His name first appears in Acts 12, verse 12. When Peter escapes from prison and retreats to a house of Christians, which happens to be the house of John Mark's mother, Mary. Some scholars speculate he's an unnamed character in the Gospel of Mark as well. In verse 51, and a young man followed him and arrested Jesus, that is, followed him with nothing but a naked cloth about his body, and they seized him, that would be the guards. But he left the linen cloth and ran away naked. And Paul seems to reference him in Colossians as a cousin of Barnabas. Verse 38 and following. But Paul thought it best not to take with them one who had withdrawn from them in Pamphylia and had not gone with them to the work. And there arose a sharp disagreement, so that they separated from each other. Barnabas took Mark with him and sailed away to Cyprus. The sadness of the church is that it is made up of sinful men and women. Paul and Barnabas can't agree on whether or not to take John Mark with them on what we refer to today as Paul's second missionary journey. And as a result, they end up separating. And they go their separate ways. Even today, there are disagreements that separate members within a church body. But the Lord can still use that separation for his purposes. Paul took Silas and made one trip. Barnabas took his cousin, John Mark, and made a different trip. So what happened? Well, John Mark is traditionally believed to be the evangelist we know as Mark, who wrote the Gospel of Mark. And if in fact he is Mark the evangelist, then according to early church understanding, John Mark was also the first bishop of Alexandria and the first person to establish a Christian church in Africa. In the book of Acts, when Peter escapes from prison and retreats to the house of Christians, which happens to be John Mark's mother's house, we're introduced to him. Many scholars speculate that this was the start of a long-standing relationship between John Mark and Peter, and that John Mark eventually records Peter's account of Jesus' life and ministry, and that recording of it is what we call the Gospel of Mark. Verse 40 and following. But Paul chose Silas and departed, having been commended by the brothers to the grace of the Lord. And he went through Syria and Cilicia, strengthening the churches. So Paul and Silas do good work as missionaries to the Gentiles as they go their separate way. But again, Barnabas and John Mark did good work in Africa. And John Mark recorded Peter's account of Jesus and his life and ministry for us, which we call the Gospel of Mark. You see, God is able to use everyone for his purposes, for his mission, to spread the gospel, even those who disagree within the church. So don't lose heart and don't lose hope. if there seem to be some disagreements among members in a congregation that you are discipling in and through. God is good. His mission will be served. Go in peace. Serve the Lord.